Hello and welcome back to my channel, and thanks for rejoining our Solo Traveller Classic Traveller campaign. This session we are going to focus on searching for a patron. We are going to be starting with a blank sheet of paper, this sheet of paper, and we're going to use all we know so far and apply it to what unfolds in terms of shaping the narrative. So all that spade work that we've done over the last 19 or so sessions is now going to be put into practice. We'll use all that relevant information to basically shape what transpires from our die rolls. And just talking about the overall solo play style itself, I am going to I'll just summarize it here. My future play style, I think I'm going to go for a more structured approach after this. Not radically so, and I'll be phasing it in. So I would say more structured and less random. And also, I'm going to include maybe more set encounters and what I would call planned inserts. And these would be almost pre-designed to move the narrative along, but still retaining a random element. So I will have inserts, which I have designed, but it will have a range of options and a random element. So basically, I think in layman's terms, that means things like tables and basic kind of decision tree matrices. And then later, I want to try and discern a visible campaign arc. So if we're getting a campaign arc and a theme is emerging, I want to follow that and establish it. And if we feel that it's ever coming to a branch point, we do have the option we can maybe branch off with different characters. So there is this branch option. And then finally, I think I've taken some recent learnings from some of my other channels, where I am adopting a far more interactive play style. And I think I'm going to see whether I can start to do a bit more of that in the Traveller game. I quite like the fact that it's very similar to my AD&D sort of campaign, in that I have to this stage I've just used the dice. I haven't really put any kind of pre-programming in. But I think as things evolve, I think that might actually help the situation. But for the next maybe 5 or 6 sessions, let's just see where the dice take us, maybe to the stars. So that I just wanted to give maybe just a bit of a heads up on just what my overall tact is going to be going forward. But in the meantime, normal service will be purely random, based on this rulebook and my numerous amendments, which are now filling up an entire folder full of stuff, which I think I'm going to have to get up onto the I will get up onto the internet by hook or by crook, as I will for all my other channels. Let's get down to some of the basics. Character equipment. I had to think about character equipment, and I considering the low level, I think their choice is limited because of restrictions on armor and weapons, and it's just not done, or it's not considered cultured or civilized to be walking around with any form of weapon, probably on Tarot or any other similar world in the Imperium. So I have thought, well, from a practical common sense perspective, I am going to limit our characters to wearing probably jacksuits. I was thinking maybe mesh, but I think even mesh would probably be frowned upon. It's got a kind of militaristic look, and I don't think the local law enforcement want people swaggering around in military outfits, as particularly off-worlders. And I think in terms of weapons, we're kind of limited too, because we're not really allowed any major weapons. We could probably walk around with rifles if you can believe it. It does actually say that. But I think that's maybe a step too far. And things like we're allowed to carry swords and whatever, but I think again that looks a bit offensive, as almost as if we're, I think we might end up in conflict with local law enforcement, and maybe even the local population will kind of wrinkle their nose when they see us. So I've decided that they're really just going to go walk around in their jacksuits and have be unarmed, and use the power of the voice rather than the sword. The bit of equipment that they will be using at all times, they'll have combination respirators, and these have to be worn at all times when outside the sealed habitats or the domes. So the majority of buildings are, well, they're all sealed habitats. There are some domes across like the starport and certain parts of the urban zone. But thereafter you're in sealed habitats, and to get between them you have to go outside. And because the atmosphere is thin and tainted, it has a few of these nasty agents that would do you a bit of damage, your lungs, if they had exposure. We've got to wear these combination respirators. And the final thing to give, I have been promising myself this, is the actual subsector name choice. And I realize I don't have a name for my solo campaign yet. And I've come down to, I've really been scratching my brain, and I realize I'm not really coming up with anything very, very grand. I have decided it's either going to be Shadow Nebula or Outworlds. And I think Outworlds has been taken because Space Opera's got a supplement, and we actually played in the Outworlds a lot. So I don't think I'm going to take that. So I think I'm just going to have to go for Shadow Nebula. So I officially christen the campaign the Shadow Nebula, and yeah, it's got a bit of a connotation to it. It's got maybe a bit of mystery, a mysterious subsector, but I'm going to call it the Shadow Nebula. And you've seen it christened on. It's only taken us to episode 20 to come up with the name of our subsector. So the Shadow Nebula, and this is a quick reminder, we've got Tarot slap in the middle. I was thinking maybe the Martigan belts, but again, that's a space opera adventure. Kalos, the Vespasian extent. No, I think Shadow Nebula probably is the best. Okay, so the matter at hand. Let us get our blank sheet of paper and let the games commence. So we're titling this Patron Search. Tarot. Day 2. So we've already had our day 1 in the Dragon Hotel, being introduced to Clement and his very attentive and diligent staff. We've had several what I call situations. We've met interesting people. It's now time to get down to the nitty gritty, get out onto the surface. Let's find out what we do in our little process. So I will get to my adventuring page. We've got this summary. So we're going to be doing this line called Seeking Patron, and it's going to involve patron checks, rumor checks, random encounter rolls, and legal encounter rolls. So first thing we do on our patron encounters, we consult the patron searching table. So this is where we're putting our efforts in the starport or the urban area. This determines what is the geographical location that we are going to do our searching. And I keep on jumping. I'm going to have to get maybe a smaller dice tray because I'm finding it quite difficult logistically to get this in and out of camera shot all the time. And I do like rolling on my die tray, but I just feel it's taking up a bit of room, and I'm just thinking the best place to put it. You know, I was thinking maybe at the top of the thing, but you know, it does kind of impinge. Let's do a, seeing this is such an important roll, we'll do it on camera here. So we've got 4. So this is determine where we're going to start. Right, okay, so that is an interesting start. It says, go into the urban area and take in some local events, gatherings, or organized entertainment where they might meet potential contacts, see the sights while out, tourist areas, art centers, cultural places, government buildings, and political events and rallies. So basically, we are going to go to some pretty high-powered symbols of civilization, art, culture, maybe even a sporting event, a government building, a cultural place. Okay, so that's an interesting way to start. So we'll speak to Clement. We'll say we've decided to go to the center of the urban area, where everything is at. You know, organized entertainment is our thing today. Can you provide any transport, Clement? And he says, of course we can. We can provide a one-way service, but you have to find your own way back. So we can put that we have got option 4, and we are going into the urban area. And it's going to be all the civic sites and amenities that we're going to be visiting. Okay, so we do our roll on this table, and we do a patron check, and if we get a 6 and a d6, we can follow up on a patron. If we don't, we can go for a rumor check, and that's a 6 and a d6, and all the time there's a chance of getting a random encounter, an illegal encounter. If none of this transpires in that day, we go back to the next day. So this is where it becomes slightly more abstract. I'm not going through the minutiae. If this was my AD&D campaign, I'd probably be living every hour, but I'm not going to do that with the Traveller campaign. You can't. So let's find out our first roll and see if we get a 6 on a d6 for our patron. So no patron today. Okay, let's find out whether we pick up a rumour when we're out and about in the city. So that's a 2, so no rumour. Okay, right, so we go to, there is a chance that we have a random encounter roll, which is a 5 to 6 on a d6. Okay, let's find out what that is. 5 or a 6 on a d6. Right, so we do have a random encounter. So I have to scramble my encounter stuff. That's my rumors. I think my encounters are after my rumors. Here we go. So we performed an encounter roll. It's not a starport encounter, but it's when an urban or rural encounters are required. Roll a d6. A 1 or a 2 resolve on the random table in the classic Traveller book. Otherwise, it's the urban table, M96 in the Mongoose. So, is it going to be on our classic Traveller table? So we'll roll d6, and if it's a 1 or a 2, it is. So no, it is in our Mongoose. And it's M96. So we get our core rule book out. We go all modern. I think this is 2022, is it? Can't remember. Maybe 24, because it's very, very recent. And it was 90. That's rural. So urban encounters. Urban encounters involve all this stuff. So it's a case of getting 2d6. We'll have the red as the first dice and black as the second. It would help if I took one of my reds out. So we've got a 52. And a 52 on our chart means it's a public demonstration. Well, that makes sense, doesn't it? Because we were going to all the stuff involved with public events, civic sites, and amenities. So we have an encounter. We say it's a public demonstration. So let's just have a quick look at the context of what this is. So there's not going to be there's no individual that we've got, so I'm not going to have to do motivation. I could always determine the location of where this is. So that might be an interesting thing to do. Yeah, let's do that just to see whether, see how this all works together. Yeah, so we've got an urban table here, and I've got a 1d20 to find out just exactly where this demonstration is. So we're saying 16. Starport perimeter security checkpoint. Right, so we're right on the perimeter. A reinforced gate or barrier making the boundary between the urban area and the restricted starport zone. Is this sounding like it's a public demonstration? Does this sound like it's something that's been arranged as a kind of political protest, or maybe it's potentially anti-imperial or something to do with the starport? Maybe it has been organized by one of the political factions on the planet that maybe have a bit of a beef with either the Imperium or the starport. You know, maybe this is something to do with the traditionalists. Okay, so I've got the location as the starport perimeter security checkpoint. Okay, so maybe the travelers have got caught up, they've been caught along in a public demonstration and swept up with the crowd and they've ended up like flotsam on the sea, coming up against the starport perimeter security checkpoint, and they will be covered with all sorts of closed-circuit television cameras, surveillance. There could be a bit of a heavy security presence. So let's see if we get a law level roll 2. So let's see if we get a legal encounter as the above split. Law level or less. So we know the law level is 5. So if we roll 5 or less on 2d6, we will have a legal encounter. So we get a 7. So no. So there's no. Although I do. Let's just refer to M256 because Mongoose is pretty good on this. It's a bit more refined on what Classic Traveller is, which just does a straight. And there might be some modifiers that we do. So let's see. Off-worlders acting suspiciously, -1. So we got a 7. And remember, we're 5, so we got it 5 or less. So anything that would get us down, we're not doing breaking and entering, we're not bar fighting, there's no shots fired, no murder and carnage yet. Yeah, I think we've just escaped a bit of a... maybe some security guards are looking rather suspiciously our direction. And we decide, this isn't a good idea, I think we should back off. get back into the town and continue with our civic sites and amenities. You know, that art gallery was very nice. Let's go back and take in some of those crystals. You know, they look terrific. Get your respirators back on again. Let's get out there. So we get away from the public demonstration. I don't think that was a good idea. So we have effectively not done anything that day. I'm saying that this public demonstration has come to naught. We could read some things into it and saying there is maybe some local hostility, and it's to do with the starport and maybe the starport authority. And maybe it's being motivated and mobilized by some rather dark and sinister political forces. Or it could just be basically the people are getting a bit disgruntled. We know from the character of Tara's population, they're not the type of people that really show too much emotion or get too upset, and they think that maybe the public display of these kind of emotions is rather vulgar. So I think it's probably got some rather more sinister motivations. So I'll put political, sinister, and in fact we could really put it to the test. Yeah, why don't we put this to the test? And I have got in my little kit bag, I have got this. I've got the famous yes-no oracle. And I can ask the question, is this public demonstration politically motivated by some, as we suspect, some rather sinister forces? And I can just put it down to the oracle and see what it says. Let's do that. A bit of fun. Get the old oracle working. So, is it politically motivated and sinister? No. And, all right, okay. So that's a definite no, and it's going to be something that is going to make it even more no. And right, so it's not political, it's not sinister. All right, so this is maybe it's a genuine grievance from some of the populace that they feel they're making a protest about something. Something that the starport is doing that's maybe invalidating their rights, or maybe the locals are getting quite hostile about all these off-worlders that are getting key roles and jobs in the government. Because if you remember what Wagner Castellon, he was effectively recruiting a lot of off-worlders through the Dragon Hotel. And there might be a growing resentment that this is becoming a bit more of a normal occurrence. And it's almost like a form of nepotism. And yes, let's go for the nepotism, the off-worlders. And the locals, because I've had such an emphatic no, they are really quite upset about it. And it's almost turning into a bit of a violent protest. And they see the starport as a symbol of off-world. So I would say that the fact that the characters were caught up in that, they probably didn't really want to be there, because and they could have got into a bit of trouble. So maybe I could do that and say, because it's viewed as being quite a hostile arena for the characters, is there a chance that they get caught up in maybe some rather nasty proceedings, or maybe they get a bit of catcalling? Let's maybe just do the oracle on that too. So this is where things start just to kind of grow arms and legs. So the question would be, are there hostile elements in the crowd who spot the characters being off-worlders and take affront to this? Is it a yes or a no? Yes, and oh dear. So we are in trouble. So I would say that there's a few individuals, they spot the characters being effectively the crowd is moving up to the security fence. They are shouting off-worlders out, this type of thing. They're getting quite violent. they start to give our characters a bit of a hard time. And they're saying, "What are you doing here? It's all your fault. You know, this is the reason we don't get any good jobs here, and it's all you off-worlders getting top dollar stuff." And there's a couple of nasty looking, almost like organizers, and they come up and say, "I think you should leave, or else there'll be trouble." So I think our characters can probably just make a very, very fast exit. So before I was saying, yes, they just decide to go back and take in the art gallery. They go and they skedaddle. So let's see whether they can get out. So I think we'll do it. We'll do a reaction roll. We'll get our. So let's posit that there's a couple of what would only be described as political bruisers coming up and giving us a bit of aggro. There's a lot of shouting of the crowd roundabout. It's quite an intimidating arena. The characters are starting to feel a bit, with all their training and their cool and their military abilities, they have experienced, or at least some of them have experienced, hostile local populations. They know how to deal with it, particularly individuals like Fiora. So I would say that they have a positive in negotiating with these individuals. But let's see what we get. We've got this reaction. So the throws of 2 and 12 are exactly as we say. And let's see if there's any modifiers that we put in. A DM +1 if the character served 5+ terms. No, it's not got a world population. However, I would say that individuals like Fiora, who is already trained in this type of riot control, she is probably going to take the lead. And I'm going to give them a +2 on this, just to say I don't want them to get ripped apart by the crowd. So let's see what they get. They get a 7 + 2 is 9. So that is intrigued. So I think maybe Fiora can just give a kind of good story to say, well, we didn't really mean to come along, and we're really just wanting to observe what's going on. We do sympathize. We've just arrived on this planet, and we don't think that's fair either. And the rest of the characters are all nodding their heads vigorously. I think we managed to disengage from that situation. Okay. Well, that was a bit of a close run thing for our first day. We head back to the. Let's exactly see what is in the blurb for this particular bit of town. Get away from that security perimeter, for goodness sake. You don't want to be hanging around there with that hostile crowd. And we do know that this is going to be a bit of an overhang. There's going to be this local dissent. Nothing worse than local dissent as being one of our, in fact that's out of camera, isn't it? Local dissent. We're going to have to underline that. So that's a theme that's emerged from our first day out. And see just anything that we could take from this. Because we went into the urban area and taken some local events. Well, maybe the local here we go, gatherings. So I think that was the local event, or it was this gathering, this political protest. We could have had organised entertainment. We didn't. That's a bit unfortunate. Where they might meet potential contacts. Well, we didn't meet any potential contacts there at all because we didn't get the patron role. We just met some rather hostile natives. See the sights while out. Well, I think we just have to get back in. We go back to the arts centre. We take in. We relax in some, when you're taking some crystals, some high art crystal sculptures from a local artist he's got a bit of an exhibition going on. It's looking at absolutely cutting edge stuff. And then we think, well, what about a bit of a cultural place? We may well, just trying to pack it in. So we have a bit of a day afterwards, which is basically what we need to unwind from a rather toxic situation. So, end of day 2. So we're on to patron search, tarot, day 3. And we have maybe a couple of drinks in the Dragon Hotel when we get back that night. We relate the story to Hansen, and he says, well, actually, that's quite interesting. You're telling me all about this. And we have heard quite a lot of, there's a bit of a local disgruntlement and feeling of resentment that there's some of like individuals like yourself and fellow travelers. And I'm not saying that is the case, because I know you're just arrived and you don't know anything about this, but if you took the populace's word, there are some agents that seem to be stirring up trouble against the off-worlders. It seems very strange. There's almost like a revolutionary group, a bunch of communists, I think, or something. He's going on about that. He obviously doesn't really like communists very much, whatever. But that seems to be a bunch of rabble rousers. So we get a bit more of intel on that, and it does seem to be a theme that has just recently emerged, maybe in the last couple of months. So maybe we have to keep our eyes on that. Okay, we're on to Tarot Day 3. So let's do we'll find out where are we going to go today. So we'll get our D6 out and say, well, we've just done the urban area. Are we going to go there again? We'll do a 2 this time. Okay, so this is, we do 2. And what 2 is head into the urban area again, okay, and seek out local businesses, visit trading companies, mining operations, or other businesses that might need outside help. Inquire at local professional organisations, sample some local bars and clubs known to cater for business people and professionals. Okay, so we decide to go maybe more for the, sorry, a bit of a frog in my throat. I'll just take my coffee. Yeah, we've decided to go more for a kind of business establishment rather than the cultural and entertainment and civic, and hoping to bump into a patron that way. So that is classified as the urban area and the business community. That's a good overall umbrella term. So we're off to see the business community, fellow professionals. So we'll do our patron check first, which is a 6 on a D6. So we have no patron. Okay. We will do our rumor check, which is a 6 on a D6. Nope, we have no rumor. We do a random encounter roll of 5 to 6 in the urban area. We have another urban encounter, so I'll put that down, encounter. And what is it going to be? Is it going to be our standard place? It's going to be the table on 1 to 2, the classic table. No, we're going to get our mongoose out again, find out what mongoose has got. I think that was 93. In our reckoner, rural encounters and urban encounters. So we'll get our dice, and red is the first one. Ooh, 66. Dear. Wow. That is imperial dignity. My God. What does that mean? Oh, imperial dignity. Wow. Is this a visit from a... So maybe, well, let's find out exactly where we are. So we've got an imperial dignity. Let's get to our encounter section, because this might give us a bit of visualization of what we're dealing with. So we've performed our encounter roll. We've determined the encounter identity using the appropriate table. Done. Determined motivation. And if there's a reaction, let's determine the location first. We don't have to do it in any order. I've just got this in a suggested way. It just helps because I've got a bit of like a checklist approach. So let's find out exactly where it is in the urban. I think it's a, what is the rule that I do for urban table is a 1d20. So that's a 9. All right, okay. Museum, gallery, public access, a grand building showcasing historical artifacts, alien art, or scientific exhibits. Okay, well, I suppose we were trying to go for more the business bit, but maybe we have drifted into the cultural area again. Let's go 1 to 2, 1 to 3 is a museum, 4 to 6 it's a gallery. So it is a gallery. So showcase, well, maybe historical artifacts. That would be a museum, wouldn't it? Alien art. Yeah. Yes. Maybe it is another look. We've just seen all that crystal stuff. It's surely not the same one again. Is it? We'll do the oracle. Is it the same one? Is it the same one as we did last time? Yes or no? Yes, it is. So we've ended back in the art gallery. We've been sucked back in to see this crystal. It's got an and. It's an emphatic. So and this, maybe this imperial dignity has heard its reputation far and wide, and he has specifically come because he is an absolute fanatic on this tarot crystal that is coming out. He thinks this is a big thing that he could take back to his imperial noble circles, and they can really get into it. So this is the business dimension, that someone in the business community, a local entrepreneur, has decided, I need a bit of an ambassador for this type of thing in the Imperium. So I've invited this imperial dignity to come to the art gallery and sell it back to the, be the face of selling this back into the Imperium as a bit of a star, as a bit of a personality. So there is a business element coming in. So maybe that is the business side. This entrepreneur. So maybe that's a shadowy entrepreneur that we can think about. Maybe that's a bit of a patron thing. I could maybe do a little roll on that to see whether he could be a potential patron. All right, so let's have a look at this imperial dignity and see whether we can get a bit more about him. See if he's got any motivation. Now I have something called encounter motivation, and I can tailor this to the situation, and it is a 1d40. Shall we just go for it and just see what happens? Yeah, let's have a wee shot. The dice have been quite fun today, so let's see what we get. It's a 1d40, so yep. So that's we add 20 to that. That's 35. So his motivation, the imperial dignity. Oh, here we go. This is quite interesting. Nostalgia restoration. Wants to bring back a past era, revive old traditions, or rebuild something lost. Okay, so maybe the slant of the sculptures that have been done is a kind of retro look, and maybe they do things like set of historical events. So they do sculptures of maybe like busts of previous emperors or that type of thing. And he thinks, well, I could be the ambassador for this line of say imperial statuettes of previous emperors, maybe even take it to the emperor himself, and wouldn't that be a good thing? Get the stamp of endorsement, the imperial stamp. That is their little business scheme. Okay, so we've got he is looking for restoration, nostalgia, and we're going to look for things like busts an imperial memorabilia. Well, that's an interesting little side event. Do we have any form of encounter with this person? It does beg the question that we've had an encounter. Rule for initial reaction. Yeah, I think we should do something on that, and see whether this imperial dignity notices us, and decides I want to. We'll do a slanted reaction roll. We will take our table. So I'll just get to table on page 100. We'll have a little think about how we're going to. We could do the oracle, but I think I've been doing the oracle to death so far. I quite like to just maybe use the reaction table creatively. And we'll say we were not going to have a hostile reaction. Maybe hostile, he just ignores us. And then we've got unreceptive. Yeah, let's just do this reaction and see. Yeah, I think it's got enough coverage to give us quite an interesting, excuse me, interesting response. So the imperial dignity is wandering around the art gallery. We're in there. We're coming back to some of the exhibits we looked at yesterday because we were quite entranced by it. Maybe he notices us and thinks, oh, they're aficionados too. They really like this stuff. Maybe they're fanatics, and they don't look as though they're from tarot. Or does he just ignore us because he's too above that type of thing? He gets an 8, which is, oh, he's interested. Okay, so he comes over. He's part of it. His entourage is with him, and he says, "Oh, you're enjoying this fantastic art, isn't it? Wonderful and spectacular." And Fiora is probably the one that takes the lead because of her rank and her ability to deal with maybe people. She realizes, she clicks quite quickly that she's dealing with someone of status. She says, yes, we really think this artwork is astounding. It is. Wouldn't it be fantastic if someone could take it back to the Imperium, and tell everyone, shout from the rooftops exactly what a fantastic resource and asset this is for the planet. And he says, well, you're actually thinking my way. I have been invited. He sounds quite pompous and whatever. He sounds a bit pompous. He says, I have been invited exactly to do this type of thing. Kind of blah, 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 blah. And he sounds a bit kind of political. He sounds a bit pompous. I think we could maybe just do a little... Shall we do the full hog? He seems to be developing. And remember, we've got this shadowy entrepreneur working. Is he part of this entourage? Maybe we could work this up into a nice little pseudo patron encounter. All right, let's see where this goes. If I was doing a patron, I would... we're going to do this anyhow at some stage. So let's just do a bit of a dry run on this imperial dignity. And if we have time, maybe his entrepreneur friend who's from tarot, or is he from tarot? Maybe he's an off-worlder too, that has come to the planet seeking his fortune and has tapped into a natural resource that he can exploit. That could be the reason. Okay, so let's have a look at so we determine a name, sex, age, and experience. So we'll just do let's do the imperial dignity first. So we've got name, age, sex, and experience. So let's find out what his name is. And let's find out whether it's a he or a she. So we'll do it 1 to 3. 1 to 3, male. Yep, he's a male. And find out what his ages. We'll do a D6. 5, so he's in his 50s. He's in his 50s, getting on a bit. Young for me. 1, he's got no experience. No. So he's just a bit vacant. Maybe he's one of these, you know, your typical kind of born with a silver spoon in his mouth. He's just been promoted upwards. He's failed upwards all his life because of his connections. His name is, let's have a look at an interesting name that we can do. I'm trying to remember where all my names are. Right, if it doesn't come quickly, I will pause the camera and because I don't like, oh, here we go, we got that. Oh, it's planet names. I've got the planet name. I've got, oh no, I think I'm gonna have to pause. I didn't want to do that. I'm sure my names were kicking around. This is, you'll get treated to my my folder. I will show you all the stuff that's in it. We can have a little journey through my folder, and let's see where we can find Brian's name table quickly. So that's all my planet stuff. That's what all about the hotel ethos, hotel and tarot. I'm sure I had the table. Now, this is nonsense. You know, that's my, oh, here we go, character names. Okay, so we've got is a male first name. So we'll do, that's the column with the black dice, and we'll do the red for the row. So let's do, row is 1 and 6, Rents. He is called Rents. And we'll do column for this, for the surname, which is this one. We're not going to get a Castellan again, are we? And we've got, we have the black as being the decider for the units. So that is 3, 13, Griffin. Rents Griffin. Yeah, wow, that sounds quite noble, isn't it? Lord Rent. We'll put Lord. He's in a dignity, so he's got to be social class 11 plus at least. So maybe we do a 1d4. Well, I don't have my d4. Let's get one of my d4s out. Let's maybe have 10 plus a d4 for his social class. Let's see what he is. So he is, that's a 1. So he's an 11. So I think that's a knight. So he's maybe not so far up in the social hierarchy. And his overall characteristics, his personality. We'll get our dice out and we'll have red first. So that's a 31. He is suspicious. So his personality is suspicious. Always distrusts others, even their allies. Okay. So when he was talking away, he was probably being a bit reticent and didn't really go into too much detail. I mean, maybe he has a bit of a weakness that he is, because he's quite pompous and arrogant. He just can't help himself. Sometimes he overcomes his suspicion. So he is interested in us, and he says, and I think we could probably try to work this in our favor, and we'll say. Well, we really are, we're very interested in local art. We really like to come back to this gallery and whatever. And he says, is he going to be so taken with us that he's going to invite us to either a function or dinner or something? Let's find out. Is he staying in the Dragon Hotel? So it's a 1. We'll do a yes/no for that. So yes, he is. So he's in the Dragon Hotel. And we'll say, we're staying in the Dragon Hotel. Are you staying? And he says, oh, yes, I am. Yeah. Well, we say, well, maybe we could meet one day, one evening for dinner in the Wormstail Bar or the restaurant. I think that, that would be nice. And he says, we'll just do a reaction roll for that and see whether he thinks that's a good idea. So we might have a bit of a follow-up. If we don't get any patrons soon, we can have a follow-up with that. In fact, I might use my social one and get that going. Might be a better one to use at this stage. So this is, we roll our 2d6 and let's see if there's anything else. Social standing 3 points higher or lower than NPC. Well, we know that one of our characters has got a 9, so that's not going to be the case. I would say that we've got a bit of rapport going, so +1 or a +2. 1 to 3, it's a +1. No, +2 we get, so +2 to this. Oh, that's a 3. 3 + 2 is 5, negative. No, he says, I'm actually, my itinerary is very, very busy. I'm afraid I mean, he kind of blusters a bit, and he says, I must move on. It has been very nice talking to you. Maybe we could bump, if we do bumping into each other again, maybe we could share a drink. Okay. Let's carry, and his little entourage carries on. So, end of encounter. But we've got another interesting NPC staying at the Dragon Hotel, an Imperial dignity, with a business backer, and he's given away some information. So our characters don't know all this stuff. I know it. I've got this person in the background that they're not aware of, unless they put 2 and 2 together and come up with something. Okay, but I've got this little thing in my back pocket that I can, rents Griffin. And I could, this point I was making at the start of the video, where I can bring in more programmed events. And as the campaign starts to develop and I get my NPCs, I can seed them back in and recycle them as options. So it won't all be pure random stuff. This has all just come from the dice, all this stuff here. Okay, so where are we on? I've still got to do a legal roll. So a 5 or less. 5 or less on our, we get some legal. Oh dear, right. So we do get a legal interest. There is some law enforcement. And so what does it say about the legal side? And I'm just seeing the time, and I think I'm coming to the limit. But what we could do is just tantalize you with the prospect of the characters coming up against the security forces. So let's just summarize where we are. Our characters are in this art gallery. They are looking at the crystal displays. They have bumped into this Imperial dignity. His name is Rents Griffin. We don't know that he is being backed by this entrepreneur, but he is. He's part of an entourage that is here to advocate for this local export and maybe take it back as a big thing into the Imperium. He's there as a front. He's staying at the Dragon Hotel. The characters are probably just about to leave the Dragon Hotel. Maybe it's the security have been alerted. They're part of Rents Griffin's security team. They don't like people just coming up and speaking to him unsolicited. Maybe that is the reason. Maybe it's part of his security team, or is it part of local law enforcement? So these could maybe be the options that I could program in. And in fact, that might be quite a nice little mini game to have at the start of the next thing. So we could have his security detail. We could have local law enforcement. We could also have local. So this is just patrolling, just a patrol. and just asking some questions. How about something like the local law enforcement that have used the CCT footage on the camera from yesterday at the Starport perimeter security checkpoint? Ooh, and think, why are they there? Are they getting mixed up in this type of stuff? Are they agitators? Are they suspicious? Ooh, that could be nasty. Yeah, I wouldn't want that as one of our options. And maybe I have another fourth one. Maybe there are. He's got his own security data. Maybe there are Imperial shadow security. So they could be briefed that the Imperium it's just every time I talk about the Imperium, it just becomes a bit more amazing every time. Maybe in a sinister way, maybe not such a good way. They could have details out on any of the key nobles and key individuals in in their hierarchy, and they have got details that just have a kind of maybe they have suspicions about Rance Griffin and the person he's working with, and maybe I think there's a nefarious purpose with this, and maybe they think that could be a front to a clandestine operation. They could be using a legitimate business like exporting of fine art to ship maybe some clandestine products. Ooh, right. Okay, well, I think we've got lots of nightmare fuel for next next episode. The characters have been they are going to be stepping out the front of the art gallery, thinking, "Oh, that was a lovely day. We didn't have any trouble today." And that old chap, we might be able to bump into him back in the Dragon Hotel. Really looking forward to getting back to the Dragon Hotel tonight. Excuse me, sir. I've got a couple of questions. What is it going to be? Okay, let's get stuck into that the next session. So I think we were up and running. We haven't had a patron yet, but the good news is that after 3 days, if we don't find a patron, I automatically generate one. So if we go out on day 4, so I say for day 3 we don't get another patron. Day 4, when we go out, I will generate a patron. We've also got some of the other NPC characters that we've met through the situations that might provide something. We will have all sorts of information to collate and use as a potential ammunition to generate our patron. And I'm quite keen to show you how I generate the missions. I've been working away at how I can create some random missions. We've got some of the basic tables that are in Mongoose, and I've beefed that up a wee bit to say, well, this is how much the mission remuneration would be based on the risk and the difficulty and the time. And I've got a bit of a formula to do that. So being an accounting background, I'm quite keen to show you how the numbers stack up and what the actual bottom line would be for the thing. Okay, well, I enjoyed that. Hopefully you did too, and you're looking forward to what happens with our law enforcement encounter next time. Okay, well, thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.